Well, you know, that's.
Didn't have to go to red.
No,
They went out to their sister's property and they were in there, both of them were in their 80s.
Yeah.
And they cut down a whole orchard, fruit tree.
John,
And jumping out longer than gone already and this.
all right, start the meeting at 6 o'clock. Thank you all very much for being here tonight. I'm assuming the public comments was part of a copy paste.
Smash and grind them up. And then you just
Yeah.
sprinkle them in.
Okay.
And they don't even know they're in there. But the flavors are-
So it looks like the first thing up is the fire chief approval ordinance, task 4A3.
So the ordinance has just been slightly revised, based on discussions at the last meeting. It'll go to the city council for approval at the next meeting.
Was it revised from what you sent out?
No, revised from the last meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those changes.
I did have a question regarding, because it changed the verbs to may be recommended by the Stevenson volunteers. I mean, I feel that it should be the maybe, it should be removed, and maybe there should be the comma, you know, recommended by the Stevenson volunteer membership, comma, and approved by Skamania County Fire District 2. That's just my feeling on that one. You know, we know that we get that the commissioners need to approve it and the city needs to approve the chief. But we're kind of, you know, we should be, unless it's the chief is completely unfit. It's been a process that's worked for decades for us, is working within the team.
That was a section 2.2440, section A, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's the other, I thought that should be rewritten, but as well.
What's the ordinance number?
There isn't one yet. It's just a draft.
The section that they're talking about, Mary, is 2.24.040, and it's entitled Fire Chief.
Section A.
And they're talking, section A, they're talking about the appointment.
Yeah.
Just so that language aligns with our, it's right here, that's what they're.
Existing code in there.
I
thought it should take out the may and put in shall.
Yeah.
That was my comment on that one.
So are we fine with the verbiage of or other qualified individual?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay, so if we put shall, then that would mean that obviously that the volunteer membership would be part of the interview process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's the flow that I
Yeah.
thought was, in the interop, it was supposed to flow through the volunteers and then ultimately, you know, through the stages, right? Each entity takes their vote. Right?
Sounds good. Any other thoughts?
That change the reporting, because I think the fire chief reports to the council by resolution or ordinance now.
Yeah, that it doesn't change that. No.
Okay. And that could change if the governing bodies decided to go with a paid chief.
That's part of why I had it as May,
That's
to allow that flexibility. So with this, it says that if we did go out for a full-time position, then that person would need to be recommended by the fire department volunteers.
that was kind of I might have touched on that last workshop.
if, I don't feel that if we get to the point where it's a paid position, and this might not make me popular, but at that point, the volunteers have already had their chance to put a name and they're out of it. If we have to go to a paid position, there's been some stuff that's happened. That's where my position was last time is, do we worry about that now? Or do we worry about it if it happens in 5, 10, 15, 20 years? I don't know. Maybe it's so. I mean, if you guys are good with it, dealing with it, if it comes up in the future, yeah. But like Leona said, that may kind of gives you that window. Hey, the volunteers, there's nobody that wants the job is like the thing now. Maybe at some point it might be where you guys have to decide what to do with that position. So
I disagree. I think the status now is I still think it needs to be opened up to have that discussion before we make a statement.
oh, I agree there too. I'm just saying
that
if you
you're
get to
saying
the
the
point
sentiment now
where you
is
don't
that-
have a volunteer chief.
We currently don't, but I think as a volunteer firefighter, we need to have that discussion before we come to a group like this and make that blanket statement.
Yeah, and I don't think it, either way it's worded, I don't think it excludes the volunteers.
No, okay.
Right now.
I just think it should be changed to shall instead of may.
Who else? All right, sounds like consensus is shall. We're voting, general consensus.
General consensus, and I'll have it on the agenda for, as an ordinance.
So Leona, for form, and we'll have to run this by our legal, the fire district too. The fire district should probably do a resolution that adopts the chief at that time too, for their chief.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then that resolution can then be sent to the city as, I'd like the confirmation.
That would be I would want to do that before the city council adopts, right?
Right, so the process would be,
To finish everything, to
The-
wrap everything up, it would go through the flow. Then the formalize, there would be a formalization through the city council resolution or ordinance or whatever. And then the county would have to do the same. And then we would file it as far as,
are you talking about as far as just adopting the process, or are you talking about as adopting the fire chief?
the chief. the
So
person.
I would see it going through the process and being approved at the volunteer level and the commissioner at the district level before it comes to council, that final approval.
You would do a,
I do it kind of,
you would
because,
do a resolution from the district.
yeah, so the district,
What if the city doesn't want it? What if the city council says, nah?
well, hopefully
Right.
they're involved in the process, so you know the answer ahead of time.
But those are scenarios that can
Right,
happen.
yeah, it
I'm
is.
I'm bringing it up,
Yeah.
just kind of like devil's advocate.
Yeah, no, and that is a possibility, depending on how the process goes, you could have, there could not be a majority of council that would approve that. And then you start the process over again.
Which would be the same at any of those steps, right? I mean,
Right.
you know, one stage.
Yeah, the
Right,
district
it-
commissioners can
district-
say,
They're like, oh,
volunteers, no.
volunteers, this
I'll
is not the
try
right
again.
guy. We need,
Yeah,
we're not the
sharpen
right
your
human.
pencil.
We need to try again.
But ultimately,
Right.
it's on the city's, the
Okay.
city's the one doing the payroll, and so
Right.
that's where I say the city would be the final,
Right, that's the last one.
that's the
Yeah.
last one.
yeah, I get
Hopefully we're all
that.
in agreement. We don't want.
Right,
You don't want to
hopefully
be
it
stuck
never,
on
that
site.
never happens.
Cause
but-
that won't, never happen.
Well, I always
You
look at
just
stuff,
know.
I always look at stuff of what's gonna happen when I'm not here. Like, Leona's not here, Scott's not here.
Exactly.
We're 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road. 'Cause, you know, we gotta build policy that lives, you know.
Dave will remember. He might not care in 20 years, but.
Dave's not here, man.
How long you been waiting to say that?
Can I say something on this?
Go for it.
Hey, I don't know, but since we do operate as two departments. And that, has anybody looked at how many city firefighters there are on the roster and how many district firefighters there are on the roster. And that we all get, say, paid by the city. So does the city get credit for all of the firefighters that are on the roster? As in their department?
As far as what?
Just as in like, you know, like every time we do our firefighting rating. all
Yeah,
of that
so-
stuff. So even though that, say, I mean, it's more than like 3/4 more of the firefighters between both departments live in the district. There's like 4, but you can give it 5 firefighters currently that are on this, that live within the city limits.
Yeah,
So-
when we do like, so MSRB. MSRB, when we do the audit, we explain the situation and they take the same amount of firefighters for the city and the same amount of firefighters for the fire district. The 2 audits that I've been through with them, they're like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So they count the manpower pool the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But like right now, I would say that the city right now has about 4, and you may be able to count the 5th one, volunteers that live within the city, and there's 15 that live within the district. So that's all I got to say.
It looks like the online agenda is a little bit different than the one that's in front of me here. So,
There's it offline.
got A and B and then, oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All right, so we have gone over the draft revisions and then like we're looking at the interlocal memo. This is just addressing changes from the original.
Right.
Revising
And splits.
Yeah, I updated the splits slightly to differentiate between what's in the original contract and what's in the revised contract. And then I think addressing some questions that I've heard about other language in the contract. So. Is any,
Did you get the feedback from Howard and Ray and Tom?
I only heard from you.
No, we don't have ours back yet from our legal process, so I can't share.
Well, no, we need to share that so she can draft.
I
up
know
the
that
next.
we don't have our red lines that we got back from legal yet. That was the process, so maybe I misunderstood you.
You did.
Yeah, we can go over what we talked about
Yeah,
at
sure.
our meeting, and then whatever we can come to an agreement on, we'll get, you know, if Liana updates the draft with that, then we have
Then we
our
have it to
legal
legal, okay.
review it and make their recommendation on it before we, you know, approve it.
Okay.
But most of this, like looking through these budget things, it looks like they're almost all the same, other than, I mean, this looks beneficial to the district part is any calls in the district pays for, any calls in the city, city's paying for. We're gonna,
That hasn't changed.
okay, I thought it was still just on the split, all right,
No, that was an original contract.
all right.
The splits were mostly related to operations and maintenance costs for
Okay.
certain items.
Yeah, Caitlin keeps an Excel sheet that tracks the city, the district and mutual aid. I think the mutual aid might be split. We might want to word that
Yeah,
if we got to get that detailed. But,
Oh, interesting.
um,
Yeah,
everything
Well,
else,
and yeah, mutual aid would probably be the,
it'd be a third category, right?
um,
Because we don't have that listed here anywhere.
I know it's on that sheet that she keeps.
it is.
And then so you guys know, she also keeps track of Monday meetings and then meetings or events that are outside of Monday. So like trunk or treat is outside of Monday. If, you know, when Pear and Josh go to Fire Academy on Saturdays, it's outside of Monday. So you can break that data down pretty deep if you needed to. I don't typically go that deep when I do the monthly report, which I need to get back into doing that. Kind of fell off when Mary retired and Caitlin come on, so I gotta get that going, but so I just want to
That's all
get
tracked
yeah,
on the spreadsheet.
but it's there. And you can pull it.
So kind of circling back on the mutual aid calls. Would that want to be 50-50 or 70-30?
I would think if it was mutual aid, it would be 50-50, but just my opinion.
I'm fine with 50-50
Because we're
mutual
we're
aid.
splitting it.
Outside the district.
Huh?
And, yeah, we're
Yeah.
going outside the district, city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or we're going
Either.
over, we're going over the 5-county agreement
Right.
too right now,
Right.
so.
Yeah.
But does the rest of it look good? Is that a great,
What kind of
great
question
English
is
is
that,
that?
Scott?
How are we feeling about the rest of it?
What page?
Just the intro.
Okay.
Just there's the two categories. Original, okay, original revised, original revised.
The fire chief stipend I thought was 50-50 before.
It actually wasn't addressed. We haven't been billing it. No,
City's been paying.
that was. talking about. What is split though, or your, the
Yeah.
calls?
Oh.
It's the same as a volunteer, yeah.
Wayne, in the draft under personnel, says that volunteers shall be volunteers of the city. And subject to the city's personnel policy is applicable. It doesn't say anything about where they have to reside. In the agreement.
Right, I'm just saying that, you know, if this arrangement ever left and quit and they separated, you guys in the district ever separate on your own, the city right now currently would have 4 or 5 volunteers.
But there's no requirement in here right now that says that they have to be a resident of the city to be on
I'm
the
just,
city.
I'm just
department.
showing the differentiate in between where the district and the city volunteers are right now,
Mhm,
between the 2 departments, that's all.
okay. But again, there's no requirement for somebody to live in the city to be on the city department. Or I would hope not.
You don't have a fire department.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's what Wayne's saying.
I know. But I mean,
If
there's
it
no,
got nasty enough for the two agencies to split and it went down, well, fire district volunteers won't go to city. I mean, you're gonna have to get really bad. It's gonna have to be a really,
Yeah.
really crappy, something's gonna, but I can see it happen. I'm sure there's people working towards it right now, to be honest with you. This last 2 years, I don't take anything off the table. But I mean, at that point, I mean, yeah, so say the fire district says we're gonna take our toys and our volunteers and run, then the city is gonna have to make a decision.
Yep.
We have to fund, like, fire is an essential service, I think. I think it might say that in the charter somewhere, maybe, I don't know. The city would have to determine what they're gonna do. I'm not gonna be around here for that. Probably won't even be a resident of the city, but I don't see it happening within the next,
100 years.
before I have the big grabber.
It's just like, the big thing is, it's just that, like, no different anywhere in the county.
Right.
Volunteerism is nothing anymore.
Yeah.
And, people like to sit and talk and, but they don't do nothing.
The reality is that's why we're going to the 70-30. I mean, they're meeting us there at least, and even if that happened, you still have mutual aid responsibilities. So you could say we're a separate department, but we're still responding the same.
Right.
So it kind of, that would be,
doesn't work. This is the best.
that would be,
The whole world,
make no
everybody
sense.
comes along.
But yeah, everybody's goal should be for the team to get the job done effectively together.
Exactly.
Well, and I know it's not a popular topic either, but that's also why some of the discussion has started around more regional collaborations. If volunteerism drops such that we have to have a paid department. So,
I wish you guys
It's
had a
not-
videotape of a couple nights ago. Us and Carson together, because I can
Well,
tell you 2 minutes to
it's not-
respond on the scene in 5 minutes and 20 people there in under 10 minutes. So that's pretty impressive for 2 local, middle
Yeah.
of nowhere agencies.
so hopefully the trends stop.
We're actively recruiting.
We're
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
not downplaying all that
Yeah.
you guys do and the volunteers that
Yeah.
are there.
No, and that's happened. A lot of those regional places are, like we have counties not more than a couple hours away where they have a station where it was only 1 person or 2 person, and they had to bring in the full-time firefighters from a different, local,
Higher up.
absorb them
Right.
in kind of, and stinks. We're hoping we never get to that, ever
Sure.
get to that. But yeah, volunteerism is just,
Yeah.
you see the same 5% of people doing 90% of the volunteer work around.
That's a national trend too.
Yeah.
It's
It is a
not
national trend,
unique
yeah.
here.
Yeah. But no, we've gotten we got a couple of young kids that they're really good, and we've gotten some people that have moved here in the last couple of years, which is great, because I can't remember how long it's been since we've seen people that have moved here saying, hey, I'm gonna go join the volunteer fire department.
I have a 6-year-old ready to go.
Not yet.
Yeah.
4 years.
Right, yeah, you know.
My wife, she's retired.
We meet every Monday.
No, Dave, no.
The secret about Dave is he's a firefighter that got to live the dream and put water on a house fire once. So I've been
Yeah.
trying to recruit him ever since.
Yeah, I did.
Up there across from the high school.
Yeah.
The one thing that I brought up to Liana was the administrative services section.
Yeah, I saw
Was
Mhm.
it's hard. What we do works,
Mhm.
and it's kind of hard to get on paper. It's
Well, and-
hard for me to tell you how it works.
Right, and the other thing that we could do, because like you said, Caitlin spends time typing up the reports, and there's like the special payroll processing and things like that. And so that, instead of it being like directly related to the district, it could be down into split costs.
Yeah, because so like the reporting, the attendance, yeah, that affects both. You could say that the personnel part of it is all city. If you wanted to go down that road, with the insurance and the retirement stuff, and I don't know, Caitlin does that or Ponders. But, it's like, Yeah, you can get into the weeds fast if you don't
Right,
generalize it.
right. Well, and the other thing I was also thinking of as well is there's a lot of administrative recommendations within the strategic plan. And, you know, again, it states, you know, in coordination with the fire chief as far as, and we would have to see what we could take on, but it would be working on those tasks as well. And so it wouldn't be all of it, but it allows for that flexibility without having to hire a full-time person or so.
Because the city doesn't do fire district administration. What Frances does is she does the vouchering system, does the minute taking and that. When we make it easier for budget, we added the fire district 2 budget line item. Because it was way crazy before we did that. And then I think on occasion we'll buy something for the fire district. I don't know. But yeah, I guess that section, like I said, that was my feedback to Leona is gotta make it to where we know, like the next people know what we're talking about,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
because it works great now because,
Cause you know, you've been doing it.
well, I mean, I had to bring up Leona on what we were doing when she started.
Mhm.
Luckily, she knew what she was doing from experience, but when Nick come on board, who Leona, it was not as easy, and Wayne had to take the brunt of that.
I left over that.
Yeah, and then
Sorry.
I come in and had to figure it out, and it was hard. The curve was sharper and steeper. So in that aspect, but you know, it's like, do we get nitty gritty on that, or do we just
Right, and there's a fine,
write down some
fine
write
line,
down
yeah.
some work?
Right, some workflow or some processes that we follow, right? We should have that. Because what, I mean, we have to think of the future too. And if it's complicated, then somebody doesn't know the process, you have to start over again, right?
Well, then there's the thought process of, and I've talked to Leona about this, of having the city take over even the fire district's administration as far as doing monthly minutes, agenda,
Absolutely.
you know, and working that. I think that would be a separate MOU or interlocal that details out the scope of work and everything, but I don't know if we need to leave that open in this joint agreement. That's
And have a
verbiage
separate
or,
agreement for administrative.
And that could be where the administrative costs would be direct, you know, if you wanted to keep it within this agreement and keep it kind of flexible without having to do a different agreement, that's one option. Or if you want the more formal agreement for those separate thing, again.
I would lean on
it's
what you
all-
would want. I would think that
Right.
you would want like a scope of work that details out, and then you would actually be putting contracted cost.
Right. And that could just be an amendment to
To this or
that
this.
agreement. Mhm.
What kind of workload does that put on the city to bring everything together? For you to do all the administrative costs, you, the city, we, the city. to do
So-
all- I mean,
It wouldn't take that much because we already, the way we have the account structure set up is, the costs are already split for Fire District 2.
right,
And so I would just set up a separate account code for people to charge their time to, and whatever tasks are related to that effort.
Okay.
So then that way, that code would then be the one that would be split or
Yeah.
direct, like it.
So
We
then-
could work it out to make it easier.
Then when city staff goes and checks the fire district's PO box, it comes in and processes the monthly vouchers, then goes to the auditor's office or the treasurer's and does that. That would all be like a billable hours.
Mhm.
But, you know, we would probably drop some stuff like right now, our secretary comes to every Monday meeting and takes minutes. We don't need that.
We don't need that.
Um,
Our meetings are very short and to the point, luckily, most of the time.
We don't talk a lot.
It's,
I've been
They
to a
are
couple, it's been a
vouchers.
while,
Yeah.
but.
yeah. Do we need
Yeah,
any
yeah.
equipment?
New
Does chief
equipment?
need
What do
anything?
we need to pay for?
You know? I mean, right now, going over this is probably the
You know what
longest our
I've done,
meetings have been
Yeah,
in a long time. Sometimes they can be 15 minutes. So.
and it would be good to put it under one, under
You know where I'm
one.
going with this?
Switching meetings with them? No.
Good.
Right?
Okay, we did do multiple meetings in October, so.
Yeah, that was, man, that,
Still to get paid.
I needed 2 days off after that.
So my question is. How much time do we spend administrating the fire department?
It's, so quarterly is when we do the billing, which is, Caitlin's just taking it on, so I think it was a little bit longer this time. Probably just, an hour or two for that. And then I don't know how long it takes her to do the spread. I'd probably say an hour maybe to
Like,
do the
okay, are you
spreadsheet.
talking
like
the
it's-
entire fire department? Like,
Entire department,
Oh.
all of the
City
fire-
and
yeah,
district
yeah,
stuff?
everything.
Oh,
I've asked this before.
And,
Leon and I have had this
and the
conversation.
only reason I'm saying is, do we also, is on your table, since your table is so big, you got a lot of stuff on it. Do we look at contracting it out?
that would be a fire district 2 question, because if they're contracting with us, then we contract it
Nope.
out, it would just be better for them to just
Well,
contract
no,
it out.
I think we just gone full circle.
Right, yeah. Right.
See, that was full circle there. We-
Yeah.
It would be right back to us to do it anyway, so I don't know what the purpose of that would be. And.
Want to try to, I want to try to be real careful here. So Sylvania EMS currently does the administrative work for Fire District 1. And soon we'll be doing the administrative work. I understand the commissioners for Fire District 3 are going to be seeking to enter into a contract with us, and we also do the work for Fire District 5. The work is at varying levels because some departments are more advanced than others, or have more workload, but as a special purpose district, they are uniquely different than the city. And so that is an option. And it seems reasonable that that would be a good idea, because the budget resolution for a fire district in Carson is exactly the same as it is for the fire district in Stevenson. It would be much quicker. On average, right now, my staff assigned to Fire District 1 is spending about 20 hours a week trying to get their policies, their resolutions, all of the compliance issues that have been happening in line. And all at the direction of the state auditor. So I don't imagine that it would continue to take that long, but there is potentially some work, because the chief's job is policy and operations, right? And when you have a volunteer chief, that's hard. That's hard. Rob's been writing a lot of grants and getting a lot of money for the fire district, but probably left him very little time to work on some of the other issues. So just a side note that that's an option.
I love kicking the dog.
It's always my preference too, and the way it is set up now is. I don't like one government agency paying another government agency. So the fire district could go to private, that'd be like the first choice, like that would be my recommendation, but. We have had conversations, Leon and I, about what would that look like hour wise. It might make a lot of sense. Since, the structures there, the operations are similar.
And as far as the policies and everything, it would be for both departments. And I'm talking about the ones that are kind of outlined in the strategic plan. I don't know what the district needs. But
I can tell you from dealing with that federal grant,
Oh my
I
god,
had to, I
different level.
I had to replicate, like I have the same, like I asked Leona, I was looking for the sexual harassment policy for the, and I totally missed it, which that's probably why, well, I was looking at it like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, so that's probably why.
Mhm.
And I'm reading it, I'm like, well, yeah, this is well, yeah, it's familiar because I copied it for the fire district when we had to have, I had to build that, so.
Mhm.
Yeah, we would. Personnel wise, we have a base set, and we do duplicate it when we have to.
Mhm.
But we have to get, I think, strategic plan says we should look at making sure they're in
They're right.
sync. Now I got the policy and procedures from ClickTap 3,
Mhm.
and it's 168 pages. My thought was I would just do an edit and replace, and then work through it step by step. And then there would be a fire department handbook. The city council would adopt it. Fire district would adopt it. Fire chief would administer it. But my word skills are not that great.
So Rob, let me ask you. Workload wise. Is it fair to put that workload on you as a volunteer chief? As opposed to taking all of the things that you're talking about, revising your policies and updating, you say you got a base set. Well, but where does that base set take you? How can you build on that?
Right.
And make it more efficient? And quite frankly, to me, listening to you talk about all of the different things that you deal with in regards to the operations and everything of the fire departments, it doesn't sound like, even though you're working, you're like a duck, cool on the top of the water, but paddling like crazy underneath. It doesn't sound like it's the most efficient way to run our fire departments. And so that's why I bring it up.
It's my workload varies. I high level track it and turn in an hour sheet every week or every month. It's not everything.
Right, exactly.
We had a structure fire the other night that I was not able to go to, but I was coordination with 2 other chiefs that kept calling me. What do you need? Do you need this? I'm like, I'm not even there, guys. Like, they're not calling for extra help, so we don't need it. So that was, 45 minutes of back and forth. I don't feel that.
Right.
I have been tracking my time about what I spend on the strategic plan loosely, I don't know. I mean, that's one of my thing to Leona when I said, let's see what the budget looks like to move to a paid chief. I was like, there's not enough work for a single paid chief.
Right.
There's not enough work so that's why I said paid chief, fire marshal, and an emergency services or emergency management coordinator. We still don't have one for the county. John Carlson wasn't replaced. Maybe that 3-in-1 might have enough work. The city contracts with the county for fire marshal services. I don't know how much that added the contract, but if you pull that back and get somebody that wants to go and take some classes or has some knowledge on that, that's an opportunity to bring that back into, again, government agency paying another government agency. That's my mantra lately, But that was kind of worst case scenario if we don't get a volunteer fire chief to step up. But yeah, it's, every volunteer chief is the same.
I know.
I get $100 a month. It's $92 after.
After taxes.
Yeah, and then I gotta pay for that family leave or elder care that I'll never use.
Right.
So.
Because you are getting older.
No, I won't. I gotta work here. I gotta work here for like 10 more years to be able to get it. So.
Sorry for sidetracking.
But I mean, yeah, it is. I mean,
I think it's a lot, it is a lot of work, and I think we'd have to probably scope out, like, what does that look like? and then probably pick the best avenue of how do we solve it, right? I mean, there's things that you do in the daily, things that you do operations wise, things that you do with policy, and then administrative. And it could be heavy or not heavy. I don't know.
I think part of the thing that Dave was referring to is that when we bring up ideas and concepts at city council, Leon says, okay, what are we not gonna do? So if you're gonna add extra load, so is it fair to say that there's a difference in workload? So if you have, you know, like Caitlin or Anders working on something as opposed to you or Ben or Carolyn, like can we kind of assume that's a difference in workload so that there is an opportunity to apply a little bit, an extra hour, a quarter to work on district business as opposed to you going, hold on.
And I can work with them to see what their capacity is. The goal is that the systems that we have in place are, well, no, we've been working on a lot of projects, you know, the building permit system and all those other things, and hopefully those are on the downhill slope now. So and we'll be up and running,
You
saving
know, I
time.
might be able to say, hey, Caitlin or Anders or Carolyn or Tiffany or Ben, Leona, hey, who's the word guru? Can you take this document? Here's what I
Here's
wanted
my
to
policy,
do.
This is what I want to look like.
Is there like, you know, is it like a 10-hour project for them, or is it, you know, taking my 10-hour project and they can do it in an hour worth of formatting? That's an opportunity that, you know, we might, that operational agreement might leave, you know, vague.
So that we can do things.
Because it is, that is departmental both beneficial, but we don't do that. We've done it a little bit with grants, like Ben and Leona's worked with us on grants. I don't know how that time was. I think that was more of
Oh, it goes to
general, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so yeah, you could get deep in the weeds, or you can just like, you know, I don't know. We should track Francis's time.
Well, I think it's,
Well, I
something-
mean-
I think it's something that needs further discussion.
Yeah.
Because I am not firmly convinced that city staff can continue to do what they do with everything coming down the pipe. Especially when we're talking about the sewer system and all the things that we could be looking at there. And if we can get something off of the plate for our city staff, I think that's something that we should really think about. And so that's why I bring it up.
And I've been meeting to have, because we have a couple of new staff members. And like I said, there's been a lot of change going on. I've been meeting to have a staff meeting, I think in December, and we're going to talk about like where things land. And where there may be capacity. Or not, so, and that was gonna take place in December.
We'll approach it with some
Yes.
caution.
We also don't have things that are, you know, they're not big problems. They're things that occur and we don't have to solve the whole thing right away. We can say, let's take a look at like what Francis does, right? And say, do we really need that to be efficient? No, right? And then build it out to say, okay, what, you know, the things like the policies and procedures, what are the gaps that we think we got in the strategic plan, and start just chewing away at it to come up with something that works, that, you know, to Dave's point, that we're not like going to the city and saying, hey, I need these 80 documents done next week. That ain't happening, right? Because you overload them. So picking the smaller thing and saying, can we just solve this for this month, right? And really focus on what we're supposed to do, and that's put out fires, right?
Literally.
Yes.
Not figuratively.
Not figuratively.
Literally.
Where are we at on the agenda?
Discussing the
Talking
contract, or
Okay.
that's really,
about-
So I'm a little bit fuzzy on whether or not Ray, Tom, and Howard, have you or can you get your thoughts back to Leona?
Yeah, I only had a few. I mean, there was just a couple wording things that, and you know, I noticed like there was like, I think we talked about a job description in there, but I don't know if we decided to put that in there on job duties for a fire chief and whether we need to do that. because I know we talked about it. I have maybe 3 things and the rest of it, let's send it to our legal and get an opinion.
So the job description I got, North Bonneville, it's more in the personnel policy. So I think that's where it would land. That's where all the other city positions land, is in their personnel policy.
Yeah,
So it'd be fairly easy to tailor that and drop it in, because you are, it's a city fire chief. I'm a
well,
department
I
head.
bet, but it doesn't need to belong here. If
No,
you're,
I don't think it needs to
because
be
if
in
you
there.
are just, if it says in chief shall be a city volunteer and subject to personal policy applicable, then
Yeah.
we don't reprint it, right? You're referencing that policy,
Right.
right? I'd be okay with that. I don't see any issues with that.
And I think if we needed to get, I think that was one of the line items too, is define firefighters, fire captains, assistant chief.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can,
I mean, we could put that in a policy, right, Leona? Add it in.
That is an amendment, right?
Yeah,
Well,
we just revised the policy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Right,
city,
policy,
so
right.
the city carries a personnel policy
Yeah.
that they amend with resolutions and stuff. And they do
A
it
living
fairly,
document.
And we just
they look at it every
tweak it
year.
to look like a fire leadership tree, what they do. Is that what
Yeah,
you're
each
saying?
position would have
Yeah.
a job a job
Yeah.
description, yeah.
Okay.
yeah, I can have mine. Yeah, that's you this week.
Okay.
I only got a few, so. I don't know, Ray, how many you had, or Tom, if you.
Mine were really minor. Mine was the
Mine too.
liability piece, and I will also say that I leave contracts to attorneys, and if they, Robert and our attorney bless it and
Yep.
we like it, then I'm fine with it, because that's,
That's what they get paid. for.
That's what they get paid for.
yeah,
You talked-
mitigating risk.
Have you looked through it yet, Tom? Or you know you were going?
I have, but I wasn't obviously at the meeting.
Okay, yeah. So I think we could probably get our stuff in this week.
Yeah.
Hand it to you, we'll wrap it up and shoot for a December. Final.
Do you want
it-
to see do you want to see what our attorney
Yeah, you
sends
can
to
give it
us
to me
to
all at once.
eliminate the steps?
We can do that.
Yeah. Cause that way she can say, looks good, Mayor
Okay.
Robert.
Cause we're not
Okay,
gonna have another
yeah.
meeting until December, I
Right.
mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
All right, well, it still feels like there was 2 things that we were working on here today.
The ordinance
The
and the
ordinance
interlocal.
And the interlocal. So we're gonna get some input from the district on the interlocal. And it sounds like we're close, if not there.
Yeah, and I mean, to continue the discussion on the interlocal agreement, can we set a date for the next meeting?
Right, make the few changes that were
Right,
brought up.
it's just easier to do it when everyone's in the
It
same
is
room.
easier, however, it's harder to change when that date changes. So I don't know if I want to commit right now.
It can be flexible. So, and again, you know, we do the best that we can.
I know. What are you thinking, Ray? How long do you think it's gonna take to get back from?
We spoke with him today.
Yeah.
So hopefully we hear kind of his thoughts by, what do you say, Rob, early, mid next week?
He's out next week. He's out for Veterans Day, and then he's out.
Yeah, he
the
said he'd be
following
back
Monday.
Tuesday, so by the end of next week, maybe he'd hear.
So let's just pick a date in December then. I mean, if we think it's within the next 3 weeks, right?
Yeah. So I'm gonna be real honest with everybody. December's bird hunting,
We're not gonna see Ray at all. He's gone.
so.
That's not gonna be good.
No excuses.
Yeah, not an excuse, it's life.
Yeah, I just have I have a very well-trained dog that a lot of people, I've overcommitted her time for me running her in fields, so.
So do we shoot for January then? Is that a better month?
No, we can probably
Okay.
still go in December. I would say end of the week is probably better for me, because most of those trips are Monday, Tuesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday,
To the 15th?
and they're kind of scattered. So I would say maybe the very first week in December might work, like a month from now. Is that what you're looking at? Like maybe the
Like
5th
30
or,
days, yeah.
The 7th is Thursday.
But you said could you do the 5th or?
I
the
think
7th? Would the
that
7th
might
work?
be the only week where I'm I mean, looks like I have a bunch of dots in my calendar for.
Bunch of dots, you don't have a single dot on the
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I would say the 7th or the 5th or. Let's say the 5th, because I think the 7th I'm committed to helping my wife set up for her Christmas party.
You sure you don't want to come here instead?
Oh, I'd like to.
Rachel,
You like me sleeping on your couch?
Marathon Harmony.
Right.
The garage is a little cool in the winter time. That's all right.
The 5th works for me as well. I'll be in town.
You can just send out an invite to everybody.
They have to
Yeah.
be in Redmond 7th, so the 5th works better.
Does it work for you?
You're not helping raise the voice, are you?
Yeah.
Tom? You in town?
I believe I'm in town, so
Okay,
yes.
cool.
He lives day to day,
I know.
and no schedule past tomorrow.
I have a
Um,
schedule.
We may or may not have a quorum, we'll see. So, so- and I'll send out. an-
So what are we down to? So it sounded like we were really close.
Just the shall, and then having our attorney review already what's been given to us in the draft and the few things we wanted to change.
On the IRA.
Yeah, have him like whatever little tweaks he wants to make or agrees
I
with.
thought we were really close on
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, and then we'll get that back to Liana. That way here's the one we're like.
Right,
we feel
you'd have to
really
go to
good
the
with,
meeting,
and then it's,
And I'll see if I can change some of the language about the admin to talk about, admin costs will be billed direct in some cases or split in others. I don't know.
You think of some wording that.
Yeah, well, I can work on that and to add
Flexible enough,
more of a
but-
statement
We can.
for work.
it's kind of a. I don't want to
So
say
we're able to
very
get all this
ambiguous
done.
because of every project's different, because of.
That's right. We were gonna talk about who was gonna pick up that admin work. And then we have to add in the section about the mutual aid.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right, yes,
50/50
yeah,
mutual
mutual aid,
mutual
yep,
aid.
yep.
That needs to be added, but
Yep.
it needs to be created and added.
And yeah, more information on what the workload might look like and
Yeah.
capacity. could happen, yeah.
Does there need to be some offline conversation before the next meeting on that aspect of it? So we're not hashing it out. Cause I'd like to be able to say that we are gonna vote on 2 complete documents ready for approval by city council 2 weeks later. Yeah. So,
We already have, the ordinance I feel is complete,
Yeah.
so,
For that one.
yeah.
so just interlocal.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just interlocal that way.
Mhm.
So our meeting's next Monday.
Ours is next Monday, yeah.
Our
Regular
commissioner, we can get that over to, well, we want to get that over to our attorney, hopefully this week, so he can be working on it sometime next week.
So do you want me to see about making those changes? And then send it back to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to make those, and then that way we can get that over to him, get his sign off or recommendation and get that back to you.
Sometimes lawyers aren't very prompt, so just saying if we're gonna be.
You know, he's been one of the better
Complete doc-
ones
okay, good. Complete
that, and
document,
yeah,
Ready to make, to vote, or at least
yeah.
in a month's time. Don't get me wrong, I love a meeting.
No, he's familiar with these too, so,
Yeah, it should be pretty.
yeah, this is his specialty.
Anything else for the greater good? I appreciate all your time this evening. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you all for coming. Election